Let me ask you something before I open my mouth any further. How many times did your mouth cost you what your silence could have protected? How many doors closed not because you weren't gifted, not because you weren't anointed, not because you weren't qualified, but because you spoke too soon, too loud, or too much? We are living in a season where noise is celebrated, opinions are rewarded, and reaction is mistaken for power. Everybody's talking, everybody's typing, everybody's telling their side of the story. But hear me when I tell you this, silence is not weakness. Silence is wisdom wearing work clothes. In 2026, the people who will rise are not the loudest ones in the room. They will be the most disciplined ones, the ones who know when to speak, and more importantly, when to shut their mouths and let God timing and results do the talking. Because some battles don't need your voice, they need your restraint. Some situations don't need your explanation, they need your elevation. There are moments when silence is your shield. There are seasons when quiet is your strategy. And there are times when saying nothing is the loudest declaration of confidence you can make. So today, I'm not teaching you how to talk better. I'm teaching you how to survive, protect, and win by knowing when to stay silent. If you master these moments, 2026 won't just be another year. You'll walk into it with authority, clarity, and unshakable peace. There are moments when anger rises up so fast that it feels justified, even righteous. Your heart starts pounding, your thoughts race, and suddenly your mouth wants to become a weapon. But hear me clearly, anger is a temporary emotion, and permanent damage is often done in temporary moments. When anger is in control, wisdom is evicted. You might feel powerful in that moment, but what you are really doing is surrendering authority to emotion. The loudest voice in your head is not always the wisest one in your life. Anger has a way of dressing itself up as honesty. It whispers, just say how you feel, but what it's really saying is expose yourself. Because when you speak in anger, you reveal more about your wounds than about the situation. You give people access to your triggers, your insecurities, and your pressure points. And once they know what provokes you, they know how to control you. Silence and anger is not suppression, it is self-mastery. It is the discipline to say, I will not let a moment steal my future. When anger takes the microphone, it never tells the full story. It exaggerates offense, minimizes consequences, and convinces you that reaction is resolution. But reaction is cheap. Anybody can react. Power is in restraint. Power is in the pause. Power is in walking away long enough for your spirit to catch up with your emotions. Because the version of you that speaks in anger is not the version of you that built your dreams, prayed through your storms, or survived your past. Silence in anger gives time for truth to rise above emotion. It allows clarity to replace chaos. What felt personal may turn out to be insignificant. What felt intentional may turn out to be ignorance. But once words are released, they cannot be recalled. Apologies don't erase impact. Explanations don't undo scars. That's why silence is a shield. It blocks regret before it forms. In 2026, many opportunities will not be lost because of lack of skill, but because of lack of emotional discipline. One angry outburst can undo years of credibility. One heated sentence can close a door you prayed to walk through. The enemy doesn't always come to stop you. Sometimes he comes to provoke you. And if he can get you angry, he can get you talking. And if he gets you talking, he can get you trapped. Silence and anger is not surrender. It is strategy. It is choosing long-term victory over short-term relief. It is trusting that calm will say what chaos never could. When you stay silent in anger, you are not being weak. You are being wise enough to protect your calling, your character, and your next level. Because the future you are stepping into deserves a version of you that knows when to be quiet and let wisdom speak instead. There will be moments when people look at you and get you completely wrong. They will misread your intentions, mislabel your silence, and misunderstand your motives. And the instinct in you will rise up screaming, let me explain myself. But hear this truth, every misunderstanding is not an emergency, and every accusation does not deserve a response. Some explanations weaken you because they place you in a position of defense, and truth does not need to defend itself when time is on its side. When you rush to correct how people see you, you hand them power over your peace. You begin to live at the mercy of opinions that were never qualified to judge you in the first place. Misunderstanding becomes dangerous only when you let it define you. But when you know who you are, confusion around you cannot shake clarity within you. Silence in the face of misunderstanding is not confusion. It is confidence that your life will speak louder than your mouth ever could. There are people who are committed to misunderstanding you. No matter how clearly you speak, they will twist it. No matter how pure your heart, they will question it. That is not a communication problem. That is a perception problem rooted in their own filters, fears, and frustrations. Explaining yourself to people who are not listening is like pouring water into a broken vessel. It drains out before it ever settles. Silence saves you from wasting emotional energy on empty conversations. When you speak to defend your character, you often interrupt the process that would have vindicated you. Time is a better witness than words. Consistency is a stronger argument than emotion. Results silence critics more effectively than explanations ever will. Many times, the very people who doubt you today will be quiet tomorrow when your growth becomes undeniable. But if you argue now, you delay that moment. Silence allows truth to mature and reveal itself fully. Misunderstanding also reveals who deserves access to you. Those who truly care will seek clarity. Those who don't will seek confirmation of their assumptions. Silence filters your circle. It exposes who is invested in truth and who is addicted to drama. Not everyone needs a seat at your table, and not everyone is entitled to your story. Some people are only listening so they can repeat, not understand. In 2026, your greatest protection will be discernment, the discipline to know when silence is safer than speech. When people misunderstand you, let your integrity speak, let your consistency speak, let your growth speak. Because when truth stands still long enough, lies collapse under their own weight. And when you refuse to argue with misunderstanding, you rise above it. Silence does not mean you agree. It means you trust the process that will reveal who you really are. There are seasons when your next move is forming quietly, and the worst thing you can do is announce it too early. Not everything God is building in you is meant to be spoken out loud while it's still under construction. When you talk too soon, you invite opinions into a process that requires focus, faith, and patience. You expose a seed before it has roots, and not everyone who hears your plans wants to see them grow. Preparation is a sacred space. It is where discipline is developed, where clarity is sharpened, and where strength is built in private before it is displayed in public. When you speak prematurely, you trade progress for applause. You gain validation but lose momentum. Silence protects the process. It allows you to grow without pressure, to learn without comparison, and to fail quietly while you are still becoming. Every vision has a vulnerable stage. Before the strategy is complete, before the confidence is solid, before the foundation is strong, words can become liabilities. People will question what you cannot yet explain. They will critique what is not finished. They will project their limitations onto your potential. Silence shields you from unnecessary doubt while you are still aligning your steps. There is also a spiritual principle at work. Energy follows attention. The more people know about your next move, the more distractions surround it. Advice comes uninvited. Expectations start forming. Pressure builds to perform before you are ready. Silence keeps your focus internal. It keeps your energy directed toward execution instead of explanation, because explaining your plans drains the same energy required to complete them. Some battles are lost not because of opposition, but because of exposure. When you speak too soon, you give people time to interfere, discourage, or compete. You turn your private strategy into public discussion. But when you stay silent, you move with precision. You surprise resistance. You arrive prepared instead of announced. And when the results show up, they speak with authority that words never could. In 2026, discretion will be a form of power. Not secrecy rooted in fear, but silence rooted in wisdom. You don't owe everyone an update on your journey. Some people only have access to the finished product, not the process. Let them see the fruit, not the planting. Let them witness the outcome, not the struggle. When the time is right, your work will introduce you. When the foundation is solid, the structure will stand without explanation. Until then, stay quiet, stay focused, and stay faithful to the process. Because what is built in silence lasts longer, stands stronger, and carries more weight when it finally speaks for itself. There are certain rooms where your silence is not passivity, it is protection. Envy and jealousy rarely announce themselves with honesty. They disguise themselves as jokes, concern, or curiosity. They smile in your face while measuring your progress, watching your pace, counting your steps. When you speak too freely in those environments, you give people information they can misuse. Silence becomes your boundary when discernment tells you not everyone celebrating you is actually happy for you. Jealousy is not always loud. Often it is quiet, calculating, and observant. It studies what makes you confident, what excites you, and what you are building. And the more you talk, the more material you provide. Your words become tools for comparison, competition, and sometimes sabotage. Silence limits access. It keeps your vision from becoming someone else's insecurity. You don't need to dim your light, but you do need to be wise about who gets to stand close to it. Envy feeds on reaction. When people sense that they can provoke you, distract you, or pull information from you, they gain leverage. Silence removes that leverage. It denies them the emotional response they are seeking. It keeps you from being pulled into subtle power struggles that drain your energy and shift your focus away from your purpose. Not every challenge is meant to be confronted. Some are meant to be outgrown. In competitive environments, oversharing is costly. The more you explain your methods, your ideas, and your direction, the easier it becomes for others to imitate, interfere, or undermine. Silence allows you to move with clarity while others are still guessing. It keeps you ahead without announcing the lead. There is a difference between confidence and exposure, and wisdom knows where that line is. Jealousy also reveals itself through unnecessary criticism. When your progress makes others uncomfortable, they will question your motives, minimize your efforts, or highlight your flaws. Responding only feeds the narrative. Silence starves it. Your consistency becomes the response. Your growth becomes the answer. And over time, the same people who doubted you will have no choice but to respect the results they cannot explain away. In 2026, discernment will matter more than popularity. Everyone does not deserve access to your thoughts, plans, or emotions. Silence does not mean you are afraid. It means you are aware that not every smile is support, not every compliment is sincere, and not every conversation is safe. Protecting your energy is not selfish, it is strategic. When you stay silent around envy and hidden competition, you keep your spirit clean and your focus sharp. You refuse to descend into comparison, and you avoid unnecessary conflict. You let your progress speak without commentary, because when your work is undeniable, envy becomes irrelevant. Silence keeps you moving forward while others stay stuck watching from the sidelines. There comes a moment when you realize that not every heart is open and not every mind is teachable. Correction is powerful, but only when it lands on soil that is willing to receive it. Trying to correct someone who has already decided they are right is like trying to pour oil into a sealed container. It spills everywhere except where it's needed. Silence in these moments is not giving up. It is recognizing the limits of influence. Some people are not listening to understand. They are listening to respond. They don't want insight. They want confirmation. They don't want growth. They want to win the argument. When you continue to speak in those spaces, you drain yourself emotionally while making no impact. Correction offered to a closed heart often turns into conflict, resentment, or ridicule. Silence protects your peace when wisdom would otherwise be wasted. There is also a difference between responsibility and entitlement. You are responsible to speak truth, but you are not responsible for forcing it into someone who refuses it. Correction is an invitation, not an invasion. When people resist that invitation, silence becomes the most respectful and strategic response. It draws a boundary without creating a battle. It keeps you from being pulled into endless debates that lead nowhere. Silence also exposes readiness. Those who truly desire growth will seek clarity. They will ask questions. They will reflect. Those who are not ready will argue, deflect, or dismiss. When you stop talking, the contrast becomes clear. You learn quickly who values wisdom and who is threatened by it. That discernment saves you time, energy, and unnecessary frustration. In 2026, emotional maturity will require knowing when to disengage. Not every wrong needs to be corrected by you. Not every error needs your commentary. Some lessons are learned only through experience, not explanation. Silence allows life to become the teacher when words have failed. And often, life teaches more effectively than any speech ever could. When you continue correcting closed hearts, you risk becoming bitter instead of better. You begin to feel unappreciated, unheard, and drained. Silence resets that dynamic. It removes you from the role of rescuer and returns responsibility to where it belongs. You stop carrying weight that was never yours to hold. Silence in these moments is not weakness. It is wisdom in action. It preserves relationships that might otherwise be damaged by constant friction. It preserves your credibility by ensuring your words are spoken only where they can take root. And it preserves your peace by refusing to argue with resistance. When correction is wasted, silence speaks louder than words. It says, I value my energy. It says, I trust timing. It says, I will not force growth where readiness does not exist. And in that quiet confidence, you rise above unnecessary conflict and walk forward with clarity, strength, and peace. There are moments when the battle in front of you is not meant to be fought with your mouth, your logic, or your defense. Some fights are spiritual, some are strategic, and some are simply too big for explanation. When God is working behind the scenes, your silence becomes an act of trust. It says, I don't need to explain myself when heaven is already handling this. Speaking too much in these moments can pull you out of alignment with what God is doing quietly on your behalf. When you feel misunderstood, attacked, or falsely accused, the urge to defend yourself can be overwhelming. You want to clarify, justify, and correct the narrative. But there are seasons when your defense would actually delay your deliverance. Silence allows God to step in without interference. It creates space for divine timing to unfold without the noise of human reaction. What you cannot fix with words, God can resolve with precision. There is a danger in over-explaining during spiritual battles. You end up trying to convince people who were never meant to understand. You argue with opinions that have no authority over your destiny. Silence pulls you out of the courtroom of public opinion and places you back into the presence of God, where the verdict has already been decided. You stop trying to manage perceptions and start trusting purpose. When God fights for you, outcomes change in ways words never could. Situations shift unexpectedly. Opposition loses influence. Doors open that explanation could never unlock. And often, the very people who questioned you are left without a response when favor speaks for you. Silence allows the work of God to be undeniable rather than debated. In 2026, faith will require restraint. Not everything that happens to you needs commentary. Not every challenge needs to be posted, discussed, or dissected. Some breakthroughs happen in quiet obedience, not loud declarations. Silence keeps your heart aligned with humility and your spirit sensitive to direction. It reminds you that you are not self-made and you are not self-defended. There is also peace in knowing you don't have to carry every burden. When you stop explaining, you stop striving. When you stop striving, you start trusting. Silence becomes worship. It becomes surrender. It becomes the confidence that even if no one else sees what God is doing, the results will be visible in time. When the battle belongs to God, your job is not to argue, it is to remain faithful. Let your integrity stand. Let your consistency continue. Let your character speak without interruption. In the end, silence will prove that you didn't need to fight back because the fight was never yours to begin with. And now, hear me. In 2026, the power of silence will be your greatest weapon, your greatest shield, your secret advantage. Speak too soon and you risk regret. Hold your peace and you command respect. When the world tries to provoke you, misjudge you, or distract you, remember this: your silence is louder than their noise, stronger than their doubt, and wiser than their questions. Let patience be your strategy, let restraint be your strength, and let God's timing reveal the victory that words cannot manufacture. Stand still. stay quiet, and watch the impossible bow before you.